the person that is the teacher, is he different from the essence of the teacher? Is the teacher one or two? The person that is the teacher, is he different from the essence of the teacher? Is the teacher one or two? The teacher is neither one nor two. He is many, very many, and at the same time, he is nobody and nothing. We know the world in a certain way, in a certain number of ways. Anything that we know of is always limited. Any person that we know of has only a few certain fixed faces. Beyond that, we do not know or recognize that person. The teacher does not have a few faces. Yes, the father has a few faces, the mother has a few faces, the friend has a few faces, the lover has a few faces, the enemy has a few faces, the stranger has a few faces, the shopkeeper has a few faces. They have a few limited, predictable faces. You can say, okay, the mother is in a happy mood today. The mother is emotional today. The father is tense today. And you know the set of faces that these names correspond to, right? The same cannot be said about the teacher. The teacher has no particular face or set of faces. That is why he will never stop surprising you. And kindly do not think that the surprises will always be happy surprises, pleasant surprises. When you come across something new, when you come across a different face, whether you feel it pleasant or unpleasant, whether you experience happiness or sadness upon looking at that new face, depends not on the face but on your predisposition towards the face. If you have already decided that the teacher must conform to these images and must not go beyond them, then the moment you see something different from that, it is unlikely that you are going to be pleased. In that sense, the teacher is perfectly responsive and very, very ordinary, because he has no fixed agenda except to show to you the very simplicity of life, the very ordinariness of life, through his own simplicity and ordinariness. So he has no incentive to stick to one kind of behavior or one kind of face or a particular pattern. Change the situation, change the challenge, change the question, change the person, change the environment, and the teacher will totally change. He is not tethered to anything, not to any face, not to any ideal, not to any particular personality. He is, as we said, perfectly responsive. He is just a free response. And that freeness is not really something of the beyond. It is very earthly. And that is the difference between the teacher and the disciple. The teacher is absolutely earthly. The disciple lives in dreams of the beyond. The teacher is a being of the earth. The disciple has dreams of the sky. The teacher is one who has no dreams. The teacher is one who has no ideals. The teacher is one who is perfectly free to live in his simple, ordinary nakedness. He feels no compulsion to present himself in a particular way, in a particular personality. He feels no compulsion to act as per a respectable pattern. Contrary to this, our concept of the teacher is someone of a lofty nature, someone of the heavens, someone who believes and behaves in the highest ideals. It is not so. It is not so. You are asking, is the teacher one or two? You have not been able to really see the teacher if you have been able to see only two yet. In the teacher, you will find not two-ness, not three-ness, not four-ness, not ten-ness, but an infiniteness. Probably you have not been close enough to see the total diversity, the total universality that the teacher is. And if you are really open, as we said, the teacher will never cease to surprise you. One moment he will be the horse, next moment the zebra, then the caterpillar, then the seagull, then the sand, then the sky, then the insect, then the butterfly. You would not know whether he is at all. He carries no definite identity. And that is the reason why finding a teacher and staying near one is so almighty difficult. Because we expect a particular sublime conduct, and he is not obliged to display that. And then we feel let down. We say, oh, we thought that this person is worthy of being called a teacher, but he is behaving in such an ordinary way. That exactly is the message of the teacher. Live in an ordinary way. But instead of seeing the message, we start superimposing our own ideals upon the teacher. The teacher must walk in a measured way. But the teacher is running. The teacher is dancing. And what's worse in our eyes, the teacher is also stumbling. And what cannot be forgiven is that after stumbling, he even starts crying. What kind of teacher is this? Instead of walking like a saint with measured steps, he runs, he dances, he stumbles, he gets hurt, and then he cries. What is going on? Now all of this is so mediocre, and the teacher is supposed to be extraordinary. How can a teacher, first of all, get hurt? And then how can he cry? Don't you see that is exactly what he wants to communicate to you? Live without shame, live without guilt, live without ideals. There is no shame in crying. There is no guilt in having fallen down. There is nothing mean about your humanness. But we are so deeply convinced of our meanness that when somebody says that we are all right as we are, then we say, no, we cannot be all right. And not only are we not all right, you too are not all right, precisely because you are telling us that we are all right. If you have seen two faces of the teacher, be prepared to see four. If you have seen four, be prepared to see eight. If you have seen eight, be prepared to see 16. You getting this? How close you are to the teacher, let me give you a simple test to determine. If you continue to see the teacher as you imagine him to be, it is a sure shot proof that you are very far from him. The closer you go to the teacher, the more you will find that the idol that you had raised in your mind is breaking, is dissolving. The teacher is no more what you had thought him to be. He is just like the truth, unthinkable, beyond conceptualization. You cannot categorize him. You cannot say that he thinks like this, that he believes in this, that he belongs to a certain sect or tradition, that he follows a particular code of conduct. Are you getting this? Now you are asking, is the person different from the essence? Yes and no. The person that is the teacher is a manifestation of the essence of the teacher. They are incomparable. It is a paradox. They are one and incomparable. They are incomparable because they are dimensionally different. The essence is a blank, clean, pure emptiness, whereas the personality, the manifestation, is a total colorful diversity. How do you compare them? How do you say whether they are one or different? It is like trying to compare the colors of the flower with the shape of the roots. And even some comparison can be made between the flower and the root because both of them are material. How do you compare the manifestation in time and space with that which is beyond time and space, with that which is beyond thought? So the question that is the person different from the essence, probably wanted to ask that you have an idea of the essence, you have a particular concept about the essence. Is the person going to conform to that idea, to that concept? Now, both of these things are misplaced. The essence cannot be an idea. The essence is the truth. How can you have an idea about it? The essence cannot be thought of. And because the essence cannot be thought of, there is no way the person is going to tally with the essence. It's not even like comparing apples with oranges. It is like comparing apples with emptiness. It is like comparing a whole basket of diverse fruits with an empty basket. What kind of comparison is that? Our misfortune has been that we have thought of the truth as something special. That has been the fundamental division the mind of man has created. We live in dualities, we live in division, and the first division is between the true and the false, between the creator and the creation, between God and man. The moment you differentiate between these two, the moment you say that in existence there is something special, or that there is something beyond existence that is the truth, immediately you have qualified everything, divided everything, and created great suffering. Man keeps on dividing and dividing. Don't you see where does this tendency to divide comes from? We say good and bad, we say right and wrong, we say pain and pleasure, we say acceptable and unacceptable, we say me and you, we say all of these things. Every sentence that we utter is a sentence of division, right? Mine, not mine, known, not known, here, not here, present, absent. Anything, everything that we say is a thing of division. Obtained, not obtained, right? Don't you see what is the most fundamental division? The most fundamental division is I versus my creator. The moment this division comes into being, a million other divisions arise. Million other divisions. The essence, the truth, is ordinary, simple, and all-pervasive. It cannot be thought of not because it is something special, but because thinking is in itself a divisionary process. And how can a divisionary process take cognizance of the indivisible? In thinking, you say, I am thinking about something. So you have already created a wall, a distinction. Don't you see that? And if you say that the truth is total, then it cannot be thought of, because who is there to then think of the truth? That is the simple reason why we call it unthinkable, why we call it beyond. Beyond what? Beyond man's mind. Simple. We call it beyond man's mind not because it is exclusive or unapproachable or extraordinarily great. We call it beyond because it is simple, ordinary, and always available, and hence it is beyond. If something is at a distance from you, it can be easily picked up. But if something is within you, outside you, in the hand that is trying to pick up, omnipresent, then you cannot pick it up. Then it is beyond picking. Now, it is beyond picking doesn't mean that it is so far away that it cannot be picked up. It simply means that it is so available that picking it up is impossible. Are you getting it? That simplicity, that ordinariness is the essence of the teacher. And because that simplicity, that ordinariness is the essence of the teacher, hence it does not bar him or prevent him from acting in any way. A while back we had said that a teacher is a totally responsive being. And his response is not per any man-made ideals of propriety or respectability. His responses are extremely earthly. You can call them the responses of an animal, or you can call them the responses of a DT. It depends on how you want to look at them. And there is no great message that the teacher has to deliver. In fact, he has to undeliver you of a lot of things. He has to unburden you of a lot of things. In showing you how unburdened he is, he tells you that your burdens are useless. And in this unburdening, he is prepared to take a lot of burdens. This too is an ideal, that the teacher will not carry such and such burdens. Oh, why should he worry about trivial matters? This too is an ideal, and every ideal is a burden. The real teacher will not pander even to this ideal. There might be times when he would be prepared to carry miscellaneous and millions of petty burdens. All colors of the rainbow are present in him. The total fullness, the entire spectrum. And that is what his message is, that you are the entire spectrum. Why must you shy away from any color of life? Are you getting it? In some sense, the real teacher is not above you, he is below you. We are the high-flying ones. The real teacher lives on the earth. We try to soar in the skies. We keep searching for the beyond, for the transcendental, for some elusive God. The real teacher does not search for anything. Anything on this?
This is basically there is no particular teacher which we are looking for. Everything is a teacher and nothing is a teacher. Because I myself will not understand who is my teacher. Because each and every situation is teaching me, and it might be which is distracting me also in its own way. Then how to find a teacher?
What do you need to be taught? When you say teacher, first of all, you mean that something remains to be known, that you need to learn something, that you need to be taught something. What is it that you expect to be taught? What is it that you see yourself lacking in? What do you want to know? You see, that is how we approach the teacher, with the hope to know something, with the expectation to be taught, right?
Yeah.
And whenever you say, I want to know, I want to be taught, what you mean is that you want to gather knowledge, that you want more mind stuff, that you want to be told of matters pertaining to life, right? And that is what you call as learning and teaching. The teacher's role is to not to teach you at all. In that sense, he is actually not a teacher because he teaches nothing. All that is essential is already known to you. What is the teacher really going to teach? The teacher just asks you, are you sure about all that you know? And that is what he keeps asking. Are you sure that you must believe in all this that you know? Are you sure that you must live as you are living? Are you sure? Are you sure that you must believe in your littleness, in your pettiness, in your incapability? Are you sure? Are you sure that you want to really gather something, accumulate, earn? That's what he asks. Otherwise, there is nothing definite that he has to give to you. You're saying how to find a teacher. Finding a teacher is not at all important. Of much greater importance is unfinding the teachers that you already have. There is nobody here who does not have miscellaneous teachers. Unfind them. Get rid of them. That is far more important. We talk of getting one more teacher as if we already don't have any. There are so many sources already so keen to teach you so much. We are already absorbing, imbibing from 10 different places, and 10 is a gross understatement. The teacher is that within you which by nature tolerates no corruption, which by nature likes no contamination, which by nature is pollution proof. So when you intend to take on rubbish upon yourself, that does not quite agree to it. That is the teacher within you. So you may keep on doing all kinds of mischief with yourself, but at your center is somebody who will never accede to the mischief. That is the teacher. But that teacher who does not agree to anything, who is beyond touch, who cannot be spoiled, is also someone that you cannot perceive. Could you perceive that one, you would have first of all not taken any contamination upon yourself. Could you directly perceive your own purity, your own beauty in your own heart, then you would not have gathered so much ugliness around you. So the heart remains pure and beautiful, your essence, your center, your inner teacher remains untouched and pristine. Yet man's life remains corrupted, polluted and full of suffering. And that is such a paradox, a funny thing. A funny tragedy. Within us lies the most extreme purity. And as we are all covered with dust and grime. See this? That is because as we are creatures of mind, creatures of senses, we have no way to directly come in touch with that which is not sensual, that which cannot be touched, seen or heard. So even though the real teacher is present right in our heart, yet we find it difficult, rather impossible, to connect to him. His messages keep coming, but they keep coming in a very abstract, a very coded language. the patterns of the mind are unable to break that code, to listen to what the center is saying, what the heart is saying. But if the mind is even a little humble, then its very attempt to decode what the center is saying leads it to a physical guru. Now that is something that the mind does not really decide by itself. That is not something that the mind plans to do. That just happens. So your question, how do I find the right guru, is not quite a relevant question. You do not find the teacher. The teacher appears in a very accidental way. He comes from places where you least expected him. He comes in shapes and forms that you had never thought of. And if the teacher is coming to you as per your expectations and planning, chances are that he would not be a teacher at all. If you are the one who is selecting and choosing a teacher, then the teacher won't be anybody beyond you. He would be only as limited as your choices, as the rest of your choices. You getting it?
Mm-hmm.
So that is why a teacher is not really a universal or an objective entity. When the mind is rightly placed, then the teacher appears. And that which is teacher to you may not necessarily be a teacher to someone else. Why? Because to each his own. I'm saying a few things. They do not mean the same to everybody present here. Whether you benefit from the teacher depends on the quality of your mind. If your mind is rightly placed, then you will have a teacher. That has a lot to do with you, not so much to do with the teacher. You getting it? That is why where you can learn from, another person may totally fail to learn from. Totally fail. Yes? So you need not worry about finding a teacher. You worry about the humility of your mind. Is the mind really keen to go into the mystical? The core, the truth, the heart is softly singing of something. Is the mind eager to know what the song is all about? The heart is always sending out an invitation. Has the mind become ready to look at that invitation? When the mind gains that ripeness, that readiness, then the teacher appears even in front of you in a physical form. So the physical form of the teacher is very, very incidental. In some sense, you create your teacher. Your readiness creates the teacher. When you are ready, the teacher will appear. Which also means that the day you are not ready, the day your readiness vanishes, the teacher will become ineffective for you. Even if he is still present in the physical form, yet he will cease to teach. He will cease to teach exactly because you will cease to learn. Now you are no more available to learn. So even if the teacher still remains in the physical form, yet he has become useless for you. Always remember that first comes the inner teacher. The inner teacher induces the inner student. And when the inner student is ready, then the outer teacher appears. So this is the chain. The inner teacher, who is the one timeless truth, always there, without exception, without conditions. The call of that inner teacher induces, makes ready, ripens the mind, who is the inner student. And when the mind is ripe and ready, then appears the
external teacher,
outer teacher, the external teacher. So the external teacher comes way later. He is the third one in the chain. Why do you worry about him? Why do you worry about him? But we always ask how to find the right teacher. We ask about the third order question. We do not ask the fundamental question. Is my inner student ready? Is my inner student first listening to the inner teacher? Or at least eager or curious to listen to the inner teacher? When the inner student is ready to listen to the inner teacher, then the inner teacher appears as an outer teacher in a physical form. The external guru is nothing but your own readiness. He is the answer of the truth to your prayers. Because the mind has been praying to know the truth, hence the prayers take the shape of the outer teacher and appear. The moment the prayers stop, the external teacher also stops. He is God's answer to your own prayers. No prayers, no teacher. Yes? So what do you want to focus on? The teacher or your own prayerfulness?
Own prayerfulness.
Yes. Remain prayerful, remain humble, remain inquisitive, remain open to the mystery. And then in some form, in some way, from somewhere, something physical will also appear. Something worldly will also appear to guide you. Anything on this?
So isn't that true? Like if we'll go for choosing a teacher, some influence will come that will not be like a pure thing. We'll get greedy. Like if I want to learn something particular, that might be coming from some influence externally. For example, my friend is having some certain skills, and now my mind is like pushing me to learn those things. So if I'll go for searching for a teacher, in that case, that intention will not be true. I will not be able to find a true teacher. Is it that?
Yes, that is so. The right teacher is an answer to your prayers, not to your demands, not to your choices. Do you know the difference between praying and choosing? When you choose, then you are still on top. When you say, I am deciding. When you pray, then you just let your open and empty palms be there to receive. And you do not then choose what you will receive. That is the difference between choosing and praying. In praying, you are just open. In praying, you have let somebody else be the decider. In praying, you have said, I have seen my limits. Beyond this, I cannot go. So I leave myself to you. Now you decide. And I will unconditionally, without resistance, accept whatever you give. In fact, I won't even accept, because if I accept, in acceptance is my arrogance. So prayer is a complete openness, a total vanishing of the ego walls. Then the student is totally ready. This total readiness of the student itself is the teacher. This total readiness of the student, this total preparedness of the student to let go of all his arrogance, of all his conditioning, all of his ideals, that itself is the teacher. In fact, this letting go itself is the teaching. What else is the teaching?
Yes.
Getting it? Forget the teacher. Totally forget the teacher. Stop asking the question, from where do I get the right teacher? Totally forget the teacher. Be a student. Be a student and simply do not worry about the teacher. Worrying about the teacher is arrogance. Because if you will worry about the teacher, you will also choose a teacher. If you will worry about the teacher, then you will try to apply your own preferences in having a teacher. So you must totally be free of thoughts of the teacher. You must rather be concerned about that which you are. You should be concerned about your own discipleship. Am I the right disciple? That is the question to ask. And when you are the disciple, then the teacher comes, appears, does what he has to do, and disappears. Disappears not in the sense of going away from you. Disappears in the sense of no more being needed in the physical form. Are you getting it? We keep on asking, you see, very misplaced questions. We keep on asking questions from the ego center. We ask, how do we get God? We never ask, are we devoted enough? So the concern is always God. Now God cannot be a concern, because every concern is an object of thought. Are you going to think about God? But that's our arrogance. We want to reduce God to an object. We would not ask the right question. We would not ask, am I fit to move into the truth? We would rather ask, what is the truth? We would never look at ourselves. We would ask, how do I know whether the teacher is the right one? How do I find a teacher? We would never ask, am I prepared to be a student? We would rather want to judge the teacher. And judging the teacher, choosing a teacher, itself shows that you are not yet a student. You are not yet in discipleship. You are trying to take measure of the teacher. You are carrying a measuring tape with which you are doing your own calculations and drawing your own conclusions. Yes? Never ask about the essential. Ask about your devotion, your surrender, your readiness to dissolve. When you are dissolved, then the essential is no more a question. Then your being is the essential. And the more questions you ask, remember, the questioner remains. The more you ask about God or truth, the more he remains The one who is asking. So asking about the truth is the best ploy to remain in the false. Searching for the truth is a guaranteed method to remain in the false. Have a little faith. Don't let the mind be so restless, so gossiping, so speculative. Yes. Confine the mind to its limits. Let it do what it can, and then miracles happen on their own. Yes. Anything else on this?
Sir, being in the physical proximity of a teacher, any teacher, the faces that we used to see, because being us, being me, I can only see the face. So there is a habit of making conclusion out of one face. So what happens is that it gives rise to a certain pattern that you have to behave in this manner, seeing that face. And that is the judgment that teacher is like this or like this. So how to, even after seeing that face, see that this is not the finality of the teaching or the teaching.
Seeing a new face is always such a welcome thing. You can respond in two ways. The moment you come to see a new face of existence or of the teacher, there are two ways to respond. One is, oh, this is a face not corresponding to my beliefs. Hence it is proven that this face is false or inappropriate. If you say this, then you are centered in your own beliefs. The second way is, wow, even this face is possible. Even this face is possible. No, you are not questioning the essence. You are not saying that because a face previously unknown to me has been revealed, hence the essence is in question. You are saying, of course, the essence remains what it is. Of course, it is beyond doubt that the essence is present. Now, what is a wonder is that the essence can manifest itself even with this face. Nice, wonderful. In India, we have had the tradition of hundreds and thousands of manifestation of the truth. We call them avatars. And no two are the same. And they behave in diametrically opposite ways. In fact, you cannot reconcile the actions of one avatar with the other. One would say, I am not going to hurt even an insect. The other one would be ready to burn an entire forest down. One would be sweet like honey. The other would always act sour. One would arrive in the shape of an elephant. The other would arrive in the shape of a tortoise. One would be playing the flute and be the universal lover, and the other one would appear like a recluse, sitting in his aloneness somewhere in the jungle with nothing to do with any man or woman. These are all faces. What do all these stories tell you? They tell you that no face is impossible. In fact, the cleaner you are within, the greater will be the diversity of personalities that you will be able to put on. The more rich will be your life. In one lifetime, you would be living 1,000 lives. Sometimes the life of a shepherd, sometimes the life of a prince, sometimes the life of a celibate, sometimes the life of a householder, sometimes all adorned and decorated, sometimes going around with a dusted body in a torn loincloth. All are possible. Riches, poverty, renunciation, consumption.
Are these faces real?
Anything arising from reality is real. As long as these are not faces arising from the fear and insecurity of man's mind, we don't even have to call them real. You just say they are. They are. You don't look at one color of a rainbow and ask whether it is real compared to the other color. And if you want to ask, is the entire rainbow real? Then you have to ask, is the one perceiving the rainbow and asking this question real? You are the one who is perceiving the rainbow. You are the one who is perceiving the faces. Are you real? Had you not been perceiving, the faces would not have been there. The faces are as real as you are. They are. They just are. They just are. Suffering lies in rejection of parts of life. Suffering lies in rejection of parts of man. Suffering lies in aggrandization of parts of man. Existence is a well-balanced, well-behaved, harmonized, synchronous entity where everything has its own justified and proper place. When one thing is shown up and bloated, and the other thing is dried down and made an object of humiliation, then there is imbalance and suffering.
seeing the actions and responses that what I call a teacher gives. So the argument comes that maybe they are coming from the influential part of the mind. They are not coming from the essential. Just like as you said, the faces are real till the time they are not coming from the influence. So gossiping about the teacher or gossiping about the physical appearances or responses, it comes again and again that maybe this is not the essential, maybe this is not coming from the real.
But what you are saying may exactly be what is happening. Yet, how does that entitle us to come to any conclusion? You see, we all are influenced entities. There is no doubt about it. But so what? If you are not influenced, then you are not alive. Your very birth happens out of influence. This nose, these eyes, this language, these clothes, these thoughts, they're all influences. Influences by themselves are no guarantors of suffering. Influences are like people passing in front of a mirror. The moment somebody passes in front of a mirror, he influences the mirror, does he not? What does the mirror do? Reflects. But that does not change the essential nature of the mirror. In fact, that only makes the mirror more resplendent, more beautiful. You throw light on the mirror reflects that light. And if there are multiple mirrors, then a single ray of light can lead to a wonderful celebration, a total festival of lights. Have you seen the kind of things that can happen when multiple mirrors operate in tandem? Yes? So there is nothing wrong with that which you call as influences. Influences are the celebration of life. However, consider a situation when the mirror gets stuck with one particular image. When the mirror refuses to let go of one particular imprint. Something happened, somebody passed in front of the mirror and the mirror has become so obsessed, so attached that it simply won't let go of that image. Now there is suffering. In fact, in being totally open to influences, you are leading a total life. Now you are totally responsive. Whatever is happening, you are prepared to respond to that. Comes black, you respond to black. Comes white, you respond to white. The whole spectrum of life is now available to you. Contrasted to that, when you have ideals like black and yellow are wonderful. Then even if there is blue and green in front of you, what is it that you are reflecting? Black and yellow. Now there is suffering. The teacher is one who is totally open to influences, who is totally available to the situation. The disciple is one who lives in standards, in benchmarks. For him, blue and green are ordinary and yellow and black are special, extraordinary, wonderful, respectable. So you are right that a lot of what the teacher does might be coming from influences. Not only you are right, you need to be even more right by saying that everything that the teacher does actually comes from influences, the environment. because the teacher has nothing of his own. So he is totally prepared to be open to the environment. Come the situation, comes the response. But then your conclusion that if somebody is acting from influences, then that is an inferior kind of behavior. This conclusion needs to be examined. Are you getting this? For us, respect and love and truth are very loaded words, loaded with mental stuff. We have not let them remain ordinary. Respect comes with an entire test of qualifications. You say this qualification, this qualification, this qualification, this qualification, and when all the 6 hurdles are cleared, then the fellow will be called respectable. It may not really be so. In fact, the really respectable one will not be able to cross any hurdle, because his interest never lies in behaving in one definite way. His indefiniteness, his suppleness, his ability to flow, his non-resistance, that is his beauty. But you will take non-resistance as weakness. You will say, you see, this fellow has succumbed to influences. What you are calling as his succumbing is actually his surrender. What you are calling as his weakness is actually his non-resistance. You are saying, see, such a thing happened and he started laughing or crying. How weak is he? No, he is not weak. He is simply non-resistant. Because he has no stakes in resistance. Because he has nothing to defend. So he can allow himself to be carried away. You would have heard the story of the traveler. He was moving, and the wind was blowing in the opposite direction. Things were getting difficult for him. So he changed his direction and started moving in the opposite way. To you, this is a matter of getting influenced. To you, this is great weakness. See, he had no strength. Ordinary winds were able to persuade him to change his direction. To him, this directionlessness, this non-resistance, is his total oneness with existence. He has no destination. So it doesn't matter where he goes. He is just moving. So if the winds want to carry him elsewhere, he is prepared. I'll go. He is not going to his home. He has no home. If the winds want to carry him to the sea, he will go to the sea. He is at home in the sea also. But when a purpose-driven man, when someone with goals and prejudices will look at this man, he is obviously not going to praise or appreciate him. Right? We believe in toughness. We believe in the ability to defend ourselves. The real one has nothing to defend, so he never defends. Which also means that if a situation comes where it is demanded of him to defend, he will defend. Now, in defending, he is showing that he has nothing to defend. It comes from the Battle of 1857, what is called in the history books as the first battle of independence. So all the rebels had gathered outside a city that the British were controlling, and the British wanted to fight the Indian rebels. So they started quickly raising people. They wanted to raise an army. There were very few British soldiers, so they needed Indians too to be recruited to fight the rebels. So the recruiters went about the town, pulling in all the young and able-bodied people into the army. And you come, you also do army service. And it was being done perforce. And there was one sadhu, an old one. Who hardly had any life left in him. He would go about naked, sleep under a tree, have his chimta, sing at odd hours. And when he saw all this going on, he became very interested, curious like a child. What is going on? Soldiers in colorful dresses. Now he himself would never wear anything. But such are the ways of sadhus. He became very curious. It was like a game to him, an entertainment. Now the recruiters were instructed only to look at healthy, young, able-bodied people. But this one goes all by himself and says, I also want to join the game. I also want to join the game. And they say, we do not need you. First of all, you are too old. Secondly, you are a sadhu, a peaceful man. How will you pick up arms? He says, no. If this thing is happening in the city, I will also come. And he chased them and he bugged them till they enrolled him. And then they brought him weapons and an armor. You wear this. He was reluctant. He said, I don't need this. I have this chimta and I'll beat them with this. So you take me. So somehow they managed to give at least the basic dressing to him so that the enemy does not die simply of laughing. And they took him to the battlefield. And that 80-year-old fought like crazy. And you know what? The rebels were beaten back. And after the rebels had been beaten back, he turned upon the British themselves. He said, now it is your turn. It is such a good game. I can't help playing it. I must carry on. Of course, he was killed very soon. In this senseless story, in the madness of the sadhu, do you see what an empty mind is like? He has no agenda. He belongs to nowhere. He has no ideals to follow. He is so unpredictable that you have no other word for him except madness. And you are justified if you call him mad. You are justified even if you call him immoral. And immoral he was called because he was fighting against fellow Indians. And you are justified if you call him vain and absurd. And after calling him all the names, you're left with no more names. That's when you fall silent. And that's his teaching. You may call me this or that. Ultimately, you will be tired of calling me anything. And then you will realize that your words are so important. None of what you say is large enough and capable enough to encircle me and describe me. So don't even try. Don't even try. The leaf that falls from the tree on the soil, on the dry dirt, makes many shapes on the earth, on the dust when the wind blows. Don't try to find a pattern there. You'll not find any pattern. And you are even more unfortunate if you do find a pattern, because now you are imagining a pattern. There is no pattern. The wind blew this way, the leaf was carried this way. When the leaf was carried this way, it drew a particular line on the dust. Then it was carried some other way, and then the other way, and finally some kind of a meaningless shape appears. That meaningless shape is the meaninglessness of life. If you will try to find a mathematical pattern there will be disappointment. And if you look at it as a child looks at clouds, then there will be wonderment, then there will be bliss. If grown-ups look at clouds, they may even manage to find geometrical consistencies. A child finds no geometrical consistencies there. He just looks at them and he says, wow. And wow is the only word that you must have when you look at the actions of the empty one. Oh, even this is possible. This chimta that was used to sing bhajans till date, that was in the service of divinity, is today being used to hit and attack a human being, and that too for no reason. Wow. Do not try to judge it on your moral platforms. That judgment will not be wrong, it will be simply irrelevant.